I was going to take pictures, and it was this older male, and we all know where I'm about to go with that. And he basically told me that I wasn't able to come into the gym because they have a yearbook staff to cover what I'm trying to cover. Now, mind you, I'm going to the opposing team's school. So the yearbook staff is going to get the opposing team. So even if I was there as a yearbook staff member, that has nothing to do with me because I'm not covering that school. I'm there to get the school that actually had to go, you know, to the away team. Um, and he slammed the door in my face, and I didn't get to get everything that I had to say out, like to explain, like this is my badge, this is what I do, you know.
Girl, you've got it, and you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it, act like you know it. Girl, you've got it, and you might as well show it. Girl, you've got it, act like you know it.
Fans, it's your boy, the sports reporter without pay, and here we are back again in the month of March, Women's History Month, with another episode of Breaking Barriers, Women in Sports, where the sports reporter without pay is highlighting and showing love to all these women in this supposedly male-dominated arena. So our guest this week, I had the pleasure and privilege of meeting this young lady last year at ESPN's Black Sports Symposium. She is the host of Sports and Culture. Y'all join with me, Miss Elise Robinson. How you doing?
Hello, how are you?
All right. So again, I introduced you as as the host of Sports and Culture, but you are a woman of many talents and many hats. So tell us a little bit about yourself and everything you got going on.
Okay, so yeah, I'm the sports reporter at Sports and Culture Media. I do a lot of high school sports, but I've done a wide range of college sports, like the Pee Wee level, even the pro level. I do so, like I said, the reporting. I've done journalism and most recently photography, and I've just fallen in love with that over the last few months. Since the end of 2022 is when I got into photography, so since December, it's just been on ever since. So
I've been seeing a lot of your work. Like you ain't putting out no shabby stuff neither. Like it's dope. I see you out there.
I appreciate it.
So tell me a little bit about your journey. Like, was it always sports? Like, was this like a childhood thing? You knew you were always going to be into sports. Like, how did you arrive to this point? Like,
Oh yeah, most definitely. So I grew up in a sports household. My uncles played football and basketball. My aunt ran track. My grandma, my nanny, as I call her, she's a diehard football fan. So I just kind of grew up that way. My mom, my dad, both football fans. It was just in me. And um because I got into football so young, obviously as a female, like growing up, girls don't play football. That was just never the thing. So when I got older, I was like, well, I want to still talk about football or be around football in some sort of way. So that's originally how I got into wanting to be like a reporter or a journalist because I wanted to stay in the football aspect. As I got older and got into an internship with sports and culture, I got into football, of course, like I wanted to, but it also expanded my palette into doing basketball and volleyball and all these other sports with all these different types of people. So when I got to college, sports was always, the forefront for me. Like I knew I wanted to be in it. And since playing, it wasn't always for me. I coached a little bit and I ran track, but I just still have to be around the sports atmosphere. And that's where all of this that I'm doing comes into play.
so any people in your mind that stick out as maybe inspirations or people that kind of made you feel like I can do that too?
Well, Jamil Hill for sure. She was one of the first ones I learned about. Justina Anderson, Pam Oliver, of course. um, all black women. I see them doing. I'm like, yeah, I can do that too. And then of course everybody knows Erin Andrews. She's amazing as well. A lot of people see what she does, and I just feel like I can emulate that. As far as photography, um, my boyfriend really got me into it. He's a photographer too. and I just kind of picked it up after watching what he does, and I had fun editing his photos, and I was just like, well, I can do this, so I just picked it up, and I've taken off from there, and then I've been writing papers and whatnot since like eighth grade, ninth grade, and I had to do that to graduate college. I think my final paper was like 25 pages, so I've always just been into any of that. I just had to do it to graduate. So
I would just like to say that if I had a pool going of how long it would be before you bought him up, I probably would have won. Y'all so cute on Facebook, y'all make me sick. I just want to say that y'all so cute, y'all make me sick. Y'all always, but that's dope too. When I met you, you guys were together, right?
hmm
And you're both into the same type of thing. So again, doing something you love with the people you love, that has to
right,
be extremely fun.
it is.
So let's bring it a little more personal, right? You talked about people like Jamel Hill and Aaron Andrews and Pam Oliver, right? Is there
hmm
anybody closer to you, like personally, that has either been an inspiration or even a mentor, like along this journey that's kind of like been that person that you look up to?
Like in the sports field.
I mean, they don't have to be. This is your story. This is the Elise Robinson show.
Um, well, I mean, everybody has the cliche, oh, like my mom and family of that aspect, and it is true. Like they're my backbone. Like my mom, my nanny, and my granny. Like those are my main like three. Like generational wise. My great grandma's still here. She'll be 82 next month. Like just all well and in health. So everything I want to do, I want her to see my accomplishments while she's still here. So I go as hard as I can. So to spend as much time as I can with my granny. Number one, my nanny, I mean, she's just always been there. That's your grandma. Everybody knows how that is, that grandma, granddaughter love, or grandma, grandchild love. You know what that is. And then my mama, that's my mama. So those three for sure. Um, my aunt also, she's always had like my back regardless. She's always been like that second person with me. Um, so yeah, really just practically my family. Like the women in my family are the main ones that I look up to for motivation of any type of support that I have going on. So definitely those four.
So let me throw this question at you. You're gonna be the first person I ask this particular question, right? This is a difficult thing, right? When you're kind of getting it out of the mud in this sports industry. Has there ever been a time where you felt like, you know what, maybe this not for me?
All the time. All the time. All the time. I promise you. Like there's not a day I honestly don't even think about that. And it's funny you ask that because with photography, for example, like I was just at the SEC tournament this past weekend. All these people with all these mega cameras and stuff that I see, it is like a downer if you want to put it in that perspective because you see people with giant telescopes and they just going off. And then here I go with my little lens, and I'm just like, but my work speaks for itself, and it doesn't seem like I don't have one of those cameras that they have. So I'm proud of what I got. I mean, my little $500 camera is not a $5,000 camera with a $4,000 lens, but it's still getting the job done. And those are the moments where I feel like, this isn't for me, but I can still do that. So I don't feel bad all the time, but that's just an example for your question.
Yeah, I mean, I was out at in Arizona, right? And we had our little table set up at Radio Row. We had some cameras, we had some lights, but it was other people, man. You was like, Jesus Christ. Like they came with the whole kit and caboodle. And you like, there's two ways you can look at that, right? Part of it
hmm
is, maybe I don't belong here. But the flip side to that is, okay, that's the benchmark, right? Like that's where I need to get to. And everybody starts somewhere. So I guess, I mean, you kind of give me inspirations, but in those moments, what keeps you going, right? When you're in those moments where you see the people who've done it longer, you see the people with more experience, the people with the bigger names, the bigger brands working for bigger companies. Little Elise Robinson, what keeps you going?
The people that tell me I'm doing a great job, the people that tell me like, "Oh, I seen you on TV." Obviously, again from this past weekend, the show is not on me, the camera's not on me, but I'm out there and people see that I'm out there, like little old me from Greenville. Nobody knows who I am, but people are learning who I am. And also when I go to these games or when I do all these other things for these different schools, it's kids coming up to me like, "Oh, can you come do this for me?" Or, "Oh, how can I come talk to you?" Or, "Can I get an interview?" the people that I don't know, that's my motivation. That's why I'm doing it, to be known around my city, and you know, to just be good for them, for me, and for them.
So we talked about the down moments, right? The times where you may feel like maybe this not for me. But so far in your journey, what was the one moment where you went, okay, I belong here? Like if you were to say, that's my, that was it. Like that was the feather in my cap that I went, okay, this is for me.
You see that picture of Flage?
I didn't.
No, you didn't see it?
No.
I don't know how it, I don't know. I'm gonna try to, let me turn my brightness down real quick and show you my moment that had me like, yep, this is it. I don't care about nothing else and what nobody else got to say.
Is this recent?
Oh, yeah, this is recent. This is Friday. You see that?
Is that Reese?
No, that's Flage. The
Okay.
SEC Freshman of the Year,
Got it. Got it. Got you.
Freshman Player
Okay.
of the Year. Mm-hmm. Nope, that was Friday's game, I think, when they played, and it was just a celebration moment, and that just goes back to me saying about how my camera isn't what these other people have, but I caught that moment, and so when I went to go edit photos and I seen that pop up, I was like, dang, I really took that. And it, it's crazy because I can go to one gym and have a bad day, and then go to a gym of this caliber and have like outstanding photos. So since this is recent, that's the most important to me. That's just like, yeah, I can do this all the time. Like this is where I'm supposed to be.
Okay. So when I met you, right? You were covering sports, and like you just said, you're the host of Sports and Culture. But the more we talk and the more stuff I see you put out, you're really, really inching more and more into that photography field. Are you shutting the door on reporting?
No, I'm not shutting it down. The only reason I got into photography back in December is because that's when basketball season started. And in my city, and where Greenville County, for some reason, like there's basketball season is way different from football season. And I will, at the end of football games, I can talk to anybody for as long as I want because they're outside, it's just free range. In the gym, after the game's over, security turning the lights out, telling people they got to go and all this and all that. And I did try to set up in the hallway, but you got parents all in the way, kids running around, just noise all in the background. And I was like, I'm not about to keep trying to do this and talk to this athlete. So I didn't have an avenue to speak with the basketball players over the course of the season. So I was just like, well, I still want to stay close to the game. I still want to stay close to these kids so they know who I am. So I just picked up the camera and I just went for it. Like I just did it. I have my own podcast that I'm gonna start soon. Probably in the summertime, summertime is the goal, and that's how I'm gonna get back into talking with people, and that'll be my interviews. But that's the plan, that's the goal. So no, so reporting is definitely not down. I mean, the reporters I met just this weekend, like Drea, the youngest reporter in the SEC right now. Who else did I meet? Holly Rowe, I got to talk to her. I also got to talk to Brooke. I don't want to mispronounce her last name, but she's also an ESPN reporter. So I've spoken with them. It's still in me. That was my first love. That's what I wanted to do. But just because of the rules that I had to follow, I had to step away from it for a little bit.
That's dope though. Like you again, you know what you wanted to do. You weren't able to do it based on whatever circumstances. So you found a way to still be around and mess around and found a new love and something you're good at. That's kind of crazy.
Right. Yeah.
So again, the title of this series is Women in Sports, like breaking barriers. Obviously you don't live under a rock, you're aware. Speak of maybe some of the difficulties that you think you may have faced up to this point because you are a woman in an industry that, women are still scratching and clawing their way trying to figure this thing out, or how they fit in this, or how their voices can be heard. So speak to that a little bit.
Um, I went to a different county a couple of months ago to go to a basketball game that I was supposed to be at because I follow the school, and it's where they expect me to be at because it was a big game and it had to be, broadcasted, if you will. So I was going to take pictures, and it was this older male and we all know where I'm about to go with that. And he basically told me that I wasn't able to come into the gym because they have a yearbook staff to cover what I'm trying to cover. Now, mind you, I'm going to the opposing team's school. So the yearbook staff is going to get the opposing team. So even if I was there as a yearbook staff member, that has nothing to do with me because I'm not covering that school. I'm there to get the school that actually had to go, you know, to the away team. Um, and he slammed the door in my face, and I didn't get to get everything that I had to say out, like to explain, like this is my badge, this is what I do, whatever. And he slammed the door and walked away. So that wasn't a moment to where it's like I'm not supposed to be here, but that is something that's just unnecessary that I really shouldn't have had to go through. But I did get into the game though. Male security officer saw what was going on and he got me in. Um, but yeah,
So I guess I would say one of those things where we're making strides, but we still have a ways to go, right?
mhm,
As is the case with a lot of things in this world that we live in. So aside from just staying encouraged in terms of how difficult the journey already is, right? With that
mhm.
extra barrier, like as a woman, again, in this male dominated arena where you guys aren't readily accepted, you have to work twice as hard, you have to overly prove yourself, you can't have a bad day, right? In that aspect, what keeps you encouraged? Like what keeps you motivated and keeps you going?
Just the fact that I know that I'm bigger than whatever they trying to perceive. Like, I already know what's for me is for me. Like it's already written. Like there's nothing nobody can do or say to put me down. I know I have off days. I mean, I asked Dawn Staley a question like 2 days ago, and I felt my voice shaking. Um, but like it's the goat. Like it's Dawn Staley. Like anybody would be nervous even if they sound super perfect, I know in their head they probably the most nervous thing. But I mean, it happens. I don't get to talk to those type of people up there on that type of on that type of ladder all the time. So I'm not used to talking to people like her just on a daily basis. But I mean, like I said, I know my worth. I know what's for me is for me, and there is no bad day for that. If even if I was to have one, which I do, I come home and I just reflect like, what can I do better type of thing. So I mean, hey, I'm already prepared because I'm a woman, I'm a black woman, and in a white man's world. So that's just where I'm at.
You said it, I didn't, but you speaking on it. Like because by me doing a lot of these interviews, right? I kind of know the vibe, and it's like I don't want to lead y'all to certain things, but I'm so glad like you get to speak your truth. You know what I mean? You get to speak
Yeah,
your truth. And I think it's important for any minority, like, obviously as African Americans in this country, different things we face, we need advocates, right? And I think women in this world, period, but in the small little bit that I can do, allow your voices to be heard. You know what I mean?
definitely.
So, two more questions for you. Question number one: are you going to the symposium again?
It's in the plan.
That you
Yeah.
don't sound too sure about that.
It,
You're like,
it's in the plans to go. I just got to see, how things fall.
okay. And you already said you're planning on doing a podcast in the spring. So you have your podcast, you're doing photography. What else is up next for you?
Well, I'm moving soon, real soon, which is why I've been so caught up trying to make sure I got everything in order. Um, I think that's the next biggest thing because it's so soon. It's just me moving. Um, so I can be able to start my podcast. But other than that, it's just getting better with photography. I mean, it's track season. Excuse me. So I'm gonna be hopefully getting some track photos soon. But other than that, it's just moving, working on the podcast, possibly going back to Atlanta. Um, we'll see.
Okay. Well, Miss Lisa, I appreciate you joining me. Last but not least, before you get out of here, let all the people know where they can find you. Social media, YouTube, all that good stuff. Tell them where they can see all your work.
All right. Instagram is Elise Photography with two underscores. That's where all of my photography is. And then my personal Instagram, where all of my interviews, podcasts, type of snippets, all that is Elise Robinson with 1_. And then Twitter is also Elise Robinson. Sports and Culture also has its own Instagram. It's just Sports and Culture. So you can follow us on there and keep up with us. And thank you for having me today.
And I appreciate you joining me. And to all the fans watching, this has been another episode of Breaking Barriers, Women in Culture. We're going to be here all month, all March, bringing you these wonderful women in sports, allowing them to tell their story, talk about their journey. Till next time, it's your boy, the Sports Reporter Without Pay.
Girl, you got it. Act like you know it. Girl, you've got it. And you might as well show